My name is Leo. I used to work for a property management company in the Pacific Northwest, mostly handling remote vacation cabins. The job was simple. After a rental, I'd drive up, clean, check for damage, reset the lockbox, and leave. Isolated places, but never a problem. Until the Hemlock Ridge property. The cabin was a modern A-frame, all glass and pine, rented by a couple from Seattle for a weekend. They checked out on a Sunday. On Monday, the system flagged it as requires deep clean and inspection. Notes said, guests reported persistent feeling of being watched, unusual noises in walls, left early, request full check. I drove up Tuesday afternoon, October. The woods were a tunnel of wet green and gray, the road a single lane slick with rain and needles. When I pulled up, the cabin looked fine, quiet, to key it. Actually no birds, no squirrels, just the drip of water from the mossy roof. I used the master code, stepped inside. It smelled off, not rotten, but stale, like a room that hadn't been breathed in for years, not days. The guests had left in a hurry mugs on the table, a sweater on the couch. Standard spooked city people stuff. My job was to check the utilities and structure. I started in the basement, just a concrete crawl space with the furnace and water heater. I flicked the light. The bulb buzzed, died. I used my flashlight. The beam swept over the furnace, the pipes, and then caught something against the far wall. Something that shouldn't have been there. It was a pile of bedding, a proper nest, made from ripped up blankets, towels, even what looked like clothing. But it wasn't animal. It was arranged, almost neatly, and in the center of it, placed with care, was a collection of objects. A child's hairbrush, a single hiking boot, an empty bottle of prescription pills, a tarnished silver necklace. My skin prickled. Squatters? But in a managed rental? The back of my neck went cold. I backed out, closed the basement door. I decided to check the perimeter. Outside, the rain had softened to a mist. I circled the cabin. Nothing. Then, at the back, beneath the master bedroom's raised deck, I saw it. The skirting around the deck base had a small, deliberate-looking gap, not broken, worn smooth, like something had been sliding through it for a long, long time. It was just big enough for a person, if they crawled. I got on my knees and shone my light inside. The space under the cabin was shallow, maybe 2 feet high, and it was occupied, not by an animal, but by a system. Water bottles lined up, more pilfered items, a paperback book, a flashlight without batteries, cans of food, and at the very back, tucked into a nook where the foundation met the earth, was another nest. This one had a flattened space like a bed, and beside it, scratched into the dirt floor, were marks, tallies, dozens of groups of 5, scratched with a stone or a stick, a count, and beside the tallies, a single, fresh sentence, etched deep. I keep them quiet for you. I scrambled back, my heart hammering. This wasn't a squatter. This was a resident. Someone who didn't break in. Someone who lived here, between the guests, listening to them through the floorboards. I called my boss, voice shaky. We have a serious problem at Hemlock Ridge. You need to call the police. Now. Police are 2 hours out, Leo, he said, annoyed. Just secure the property and leave. We'll file a report. I couldn't just leave. I felt a sick responsibility. I went back inside, every sense screaming. I had to make sure it was empty now. I checked every closet, behind every shower curtain. The last place was a narrow storage closet in the laundry room. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. Empty. Just a spare water heater. I let out a breath. Then I looked up on the underside of the shelf above, where no one would ever look unless they were hiding, and staring straight up was a photograph. It was taped there, a family photo, sun-faded, from the 90 seconds. A man, a woman, 2 kids smiling in front of this very cabin, and over their faces, carefully scratched out with a razor blade or a nail, were deep, violent gouges, destroying the eyes, the mouths. A soft, wet thud came from directly above me, from the ceiling, from the attic. I hadn't checked the attic. There was no pull-down ladder. The access was a sealed panel in the hallway ceiling, or it was supposed to be sealed. Now, I could see it was slightly crooked, not flush, and as I stared, frozen, a single, dark drop of liquid fell from the edge of that panel. It landed on the beige carpet between my feet with a silent, perfect bloom of red. Another drop followed, then another. The police found him 2 hours later. He was in the attic, curled around a vent that looked down into the master bedroom. He'd been there for a while. He had a camp stove, a jug of water, a bucket. He wasn't some random homeless man. He was the son from the photo. The family had sold the cabin a decade ago, after he'd gone missing during a trip here. They thought he'd run away or fallen in a ravine. He hadn't run. He'd just stayed, moving between the walls, the basement, the attic, living in the negative spaces of the house, surviving on what guests left behind, listening to their lives. The tallies under the deck, they weren't days. They were guests, rentals, families. The official report called him severely mentally ill and emaciated. They asked me what he said when they pulled him out. He didn't fight. He just looked at me, the only one not in a uniform, and he whispered it again, like a promise or a duty. I keep them quiet for you. I quit the next week. I don't go into basements anymore, and I never, ever look up at attic panels in quiet houses, because you never really know what's living in the empty parts, the parts you don't pay for,